Welcome to UVTV, motherfucker. I'm here to kick spiritual ass and dudes for my people. On God. Nia, nigga, for me, yeah. Today I'm going to be talking about the Martin Luther and Martin Luther King Jr. Jewish witchcraft for the Martian people. Now, when I talk about just in general, when it comes to the Jewish witchcraft and stuff like that, when you talk about the Jews, you're going to end up talking about Christianity. Christianity is a part of the Abrahamic religion and how they look at the Abrahamic God and stuff like that. When it comes to the religion that they, you know what I'm saying, like their unit, their little team. Religion is just a real legion. It's just a legion of people who think in a certain way to make you believe in their idol worship, believe in their God, believe in their deity and stuff like that, because they look at God like a deity. So you have to look at their idol and their role model and their iconography based upon the different allegories and the symbolism they be representing, right? So you believe in the Jewish way, the Jesuit way, the letter J way. The letter J was even created until the 1600s and stuff like that, based upon the English language and stuff like that. And then English is just a pygmy language. It's just a combination of it's a combination of a whole bunch of different languages, right? And it's England man talking. You know what I'm saying? It's England man type of speak and stuff like that. It's British man type of lingo and terminology and stuff like that. Now, on a global scale, it helps when it comes to making it so we have a global language, so a translator language, a Pigden language, so we can all understand each other for the most part. But the con would be, oh, the only reason you in that position in the first place is based upon, like, westernizing things and the New World concepts and bringing motherfuckers on boats and Christopher Columbus concepts and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So for the most part, right, I'm just talking about the witchcraft when it comes to that and taking away the spookism from it, because witchcraft is just bitchcraft. Okay, witchcraft is a female sorceress, right? So it being bitchcraft, it's just them taking some type of extreme feminine emotion and feeling. If it's something feminine, it's something that's going to be internal. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be something that's based upon something that's internal, and them trying to craft reality based upon some type of extreme emotion and feeling that make you feel some type of way inside and stuff like that. Whether them putting that type of witchcraft to put you in a certain colony or put you in a certain settlement or put you in a certain column or put you in a certain magic square diaphragm box of how they want you to think and put you in bondage from some type of mental jail cell type of thinking for the most part, instead of you having some type of freelance or having some type of freedom to think in a certain way and perspective and cultivate something of your own with you and your people of how you want to think. They want to make some type of external thing out there in the world to basically make you get lost into their idol worship, their iconography, their representation of what that look like, and them trying to guilt shame or self project if you basically go against that and stuff like that. They're going to practice witchcraft all on you. They're going to make you be into some type of extreme feminine emotion and feeling, so you feel guilty or feel like you're in sin or feel, you know what I'm saying, shame for even expressing that and going against whatever they're trying to craft and self-project onto you. And how both of these people, from Martin Luther of the 1600s and Martin Luther King in the 1900s, stuff like that, how they got utilized to be put into certain positions to add on to this line of reasoning and stuff like that, right? It's not me necessarily like it's not me like necessarily going against Martin Luther King type of rhetoric or thinking and stuff like that, or even the original person and stuff like that. I'm trying to give y'all a more broader perspective of what the Jewish witchcraft is and the Masonic witchcraft is and stuff like that, based upon different institutions and universities and fraternities and stuff like that, of how they universally want you to think so you can get indoctrinated and institutionalized or educated into their column, into their systematic programming, so you be in their system, so you don't make up your own system that go against that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's it. Like I'm trying to say it from like the you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get to the root of the thing, the root of the problem, the root of, oh, why they do that to y'all in the first place, to make y'all think in a certain way. And it's going to make y'all emotionally respond and react based upon how they do it. And it make y'all act out in certain ways where y'all end up going against y'all own people in some way, shape, or form. And y'all don't be realizing that type shit. Because I know motherfuckers gonna be looking at the title and stuff like that, and they're gonna be like, oh, what this motherfucker talking about? Oh, this motherfucker saying like some real supernatural type of shit, but he trying to include that with Martin Luther and Martin Luther King and stuff like that. And he going against his own people and stuff like that. And I ain't speaking like some I don't know, like some Dr. Umar Pan Africanist and stuff like that, or I'm going against some motherfucker in college and stuff like that, or some motherfucker ancestors or some shit like that because I'm speaking on Martin Luther name and Lutheranism and stuff like that. When I'm just providing the overall perspective of what y'all be doing anyway, for the most part. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, like I ain't saying no crazy shit, and I'm not going against y'all. I'm just explaining for motherfuckers who did not know or are unaware or not able to comprehend, or they need some type of, you know what I'm saying, teacher, or have some type of guidance of how to look at it overall instead of getting lost into a pocket of time, a memory, getting lost into a certain illusion that got crafted, or a certain bubble. That's a better word. Get lost into a certain bubble or a certain parameter so they can widen their awareness and comprehension and their awareness so they can look at that from an overall space so it looks more broad, it looks more bigger, and you can start following the practice instead of what's getting practiced on you. You know what I'm saying? You start focusing on the practice instead of the practitioners, what the practitioners doing. No, what is the practice they're trying to uphold? And in the minute you start seeing a certain pattern, aka the line of reasoning and the frequency of why they trying to put motherfuckers in certain vibrations and try to solidify that shit, you start understanding like, oh, okay, all I gotta do is notice that, and then the minute I end up taking that theology or that ideology and philosophy and kick that shit down the road, then they have to build some type of new stability, new things they're trying to stand on business about, new type of thing to stand on and shit like that, because the thing that they standing on ain't really shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really something based upon like fear mongering or some type of witchcraft or some type of program. In the minute you end up not playing in their game from them programming the game and making up your own game because they're just trying to make a game only they can win in and stuff like that, then you start looking spiritually superior or more creative or less degenerate because the game they trying to play on you is just degenerate, and you know what I'm saying, you peep again what the fuck they actually trying to do. Now, based upon, okay, both of them is Martin Luther and stuff like that, right? Martin just means because it's based upon European England man talk and stuff like that, right? Martin just means Mars, and then Luther just means the people's army and stuff like that. That's why I even said it in a title like that, because they're trying to put y'all in this type of energy for the most part. So the Martian people, okay, what does Mars represent? And a lot of motherfuckers who into astrology, they already know what that shit means. So if you on Mars and you on Martian and stuff like that, it starts talking about war. It starts talking about passion. It starts talking about motivation. It starts talking about intentions and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Martian type of energy. You know what I'm saying? Aggressive type of energy. Warlike type of energy. Warrior spirit and stuff like that. Right? A lot of you know what I'm saying, kind of like a lot of fiery type of energy for the most part, or like red type of energy for the most part. You know what I'm saying? So Martian people, okay, people who have a lot of passion and motivation, motherfuckers who will probably be in a real activist type of mind state or a revolutionary type of mind state. You know what I'm saying? And trying to ram through reality, trying to burn through reality of whatever vision that they in for the most part. So from them being in this template, they try to put motherfuckers into this diaphragm. Okay, so people who think in this specific way, how can we put these motherfuckers in a certain program, in a certain sector, in a certain, you know what I'm saying? Like in a certain column, a certain parameter, and we can box these people into this mentality for the most part. It's based upon a mentality first. So they can practice some type of mental slavery, and then it turn into physical slavery when they start physically practicing that for the most part. So it's kind of like they trying to control and program how y'all think first and try to square that out based upon the space that y'all in. And then it turns into, okay, it's going to turn into physical things that actually get materialized and solidified and stuff like that. So to make that real simple, it's kind of like during the civil rights movement when Martin Luther King was a pivotal figure in, for the most part, like with Jim Crow laws or like segregation and stuff like that, or actual physical slavery, or actual physical lynchings and stuff like that, or actual physical nationalism, and actual physical ethnic cleansing and stuff like that, and actual physical being institutionalized, actual physical systematic racism and stuff like that. But it's based upon some mentality of trying to make motherfuckers think in a certain way. Oh, it's a good thing that we all segregated. Oh, it's a good thing that we treating y'all this way. Oh, it's a good thing that if you go to a sundown town that your ass probably gonna get killed and discriminated against. right? It's a good thing that based upon the color of your skin and stuff like that, that we're gonna do these extreme acts against you and stuff like that, because that's the type of program that we're trying to push right now, and it's being funded by the feds and the government and stuff like that. Anybody who's in government or want to be a part of the government, they're just part of a lineage of people who have a governing type of mentality, so they like to rule over people. I'm not even trying to say that's bad or anything like that, right? Because we still need civilization, we still need to run things still need to be creative and productive and stuff like that. We still need some type of system, but I'm saying that's what the government at that time, the type of things they was thinking about. And a lot of these people, they go hand in hand when it comes to this Masonic and Jewish witchcraft, right? Motherfuckers who just want to run the world based upon their institutions and their enlightenment. And you know what I'm saying? That's why they got shit like the New Age enlightenment and stuff like that, or the New Age Renaissance and stuff like that. No, it's a renaissance for them of the type of system and program they're trying to run at that time, and they're trying to practice that on the people to see what's successful, or if you know what I'm saying, if it's successful, so they can keep up whatever the thing they trying to do, right? So New World Order, In God We Trust, those type of allegories and stuff like that. Shit you be seeing on the dollar bill, our providence and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? He's favoring our undertakings and things of that nature. Things they're trying to utilize to build the new world. Them building the new world is bringing motherfuckers on boats who are basically foreigners and have to misplace people because they have a foreigner spirit because they're not from this land. So it's just colonization and capitalizing in so much shape and form. I'm not even trying to say that at this point, you know what I'm saying? Like, America is a big ass mental pot, and if they want to make this what it is, fine. But just in general, the atmosphere and the environment that got crafted from this land is based upon Native Americans, and y'all have foreign spirits to this land mass. Just in general, y'all not on y'all land mass, y'all not in y'all atmosphere, y'all not in y'all environment and stuff like that from y'all homeland, y'all motherland, y'all father sky and y'all motherland and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Y'all father sun, y'all sun pocket, and y'all mother nature, the nature of what y'all care and nurture when it comes to how y'all run y'all land. You know what I'm saying? So like, y'all come from Europe, y'all come from Asia, y'all come from the Middle East and things of that nature. Y'all come from Russia or New Zealand, or you come from Africa. So it's like yeah, it's just things that they practice based upon colonization, and then the New Age version would be like capitalism. All right, so boom. Martin Luther was a German priest and theologian and author, and I'm talking about the one from the 1600s, right? And Luther was just he was a seminal figure, a part of the Protestant Reformation and stuff like that. Now, a Protestant is just a Protestant is a person just protesting against what they was trying to do based upon the Catholic Church and the Catholic hierarchy, the Catholic hierarchy and things of that nature, right? And I know how y'all be looking at Christians and be looking at religion, and how y'all be looking at Catholicism and things of that nature. Look at Catholicism is just look at Catholicism, right? Because I know y'all gonna turn that into a Christian Jesus Christ conversation and stuff like that, right? It's based upon their Abrahamic God, right? They look at God like a deity, and then from them being part of the Abrahamic God is a father of a multitude because it's based upon Abraham. All the men in the Bible are just thoughts, and all the females in the Bible are just feelings and emotions and stuff like that. All of it is just allegories, aka a whole bunch of different metaphors and allegories and mental templates and thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions that they put in a book that's really just an astrology book and stuff like that, of taking a whole bunch of different people's spirituality and trying to combine it together so they could use that to have some type of different column or category so they can rule over others in some way, shape, or form based upon their government system and how they want to run things. You know what I'm saying? They have to take over business, religion, politics, entertainment, education, culture, all that. You know what I'm saying? They in order to have some type of colony and to do colonization and settle people into a certain type of way of thinking first, all the way down to physical enslavement and physical colonies and stuff like that, right? They had to make the mental template and a blueprint and a manuscript. That was part of their manuscript. So look at Catholicism, that religion in itself, based upon monotheism, right? If it's monotheism and them talking about, we believe in one God and stuff like that, right? They're just talking about themselves. They're trying to play God. You know what I'm saying? Because they look at God like a deity instead of an entity. Oh, y'all, they look at God like something, it's like idol worship. like adultery. Oh, you have to worship and give your power away to this specific shape and form of how we look at God. God is just all possibilities. Oh, it's only possible in this specific way. Now, whatever practices they was upholding based upon history and Catholicism and stuff like that, even though if you have common sense and have good comprehension and able to recognize like context clues and have some critical thinking, you know what practices they was upholding. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to Catholicism, right, that's just whatever the government was doing in Europe at the time. And then Protestants was protesting against that. That's what I call Protestant. They're just protesting against what the Catholicism government way of what they was doing in Europe. Whatever government running and system they had going on, there was people who didn't agree with it. So they got on boats and started practicing Protestantism and started reforming and started going into the New World, Native American lands and stuff like that, their atmosphere, their world, because they didn't like the way that the European government was running things. Right? So it's based upon the space they was in, the spiritual backing of whatever the government was trying to do in Europe. They was going against that. So that's where that whole protest energy be coming from. So when y'all be looking at protesting and stuff like that, and I know motherfuckers gonna get mad as hell, but like when it comes to that protesting energy, right? Y'all learn that from them and stuff like that, because when you go look at history and stuff like that, see, when you actually try to understand the mysticism behind something, the mystery behind the history, the story behind the actual story, the externalized story, what's the actual mentality someone has to be in to actually carry out those certain actions in the first place, right? And you start following the practices, right, beyond just the practitioners. You looking beyond the preacher. You're looking beyond the teacher and stuff like that. You looking beyond the priest or the what they call that shit, the Pope. There you go. Like the Pope and stuff like that. Like whoever, like the spiritual leader or whatever it is. When you look beyond the person saying, like whoever is the practitioner, you start looking at the practice itself. Okay, the practice of what they was doing themselves, right, was things of that nature, right? They would go to war on their own lands with themselves and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They used to be doing all these extreme things to themselves at first. Like any practice they did on these lands based upon colonization and capitalism and stuff like that, they was already doing that to themselves. When you look at history, they was already going at war with themselves. They already was doing all these type of things like that to themselves, like these barbarian, degenerate type of things. They was already doing these things to themselves first. And then they got to a certain point to where they was able to have some type of agreements that built some type of civilization. But they started taking that culture, that degenerate culture, and started doing that onto other people's lands because they wanted to take over other people's lands because they was getting lost into the flesh because they're not spiritual like that. They have no spiritual backing like that. You know what I'm saying? Because if it was really spiritual like that, they wouldn't be self-rejecting like that. You wouldn't feel the need to antagonize, or you wouldn't feel the need to prey upon other people on what they're doing. You'll be too busy trying to cultivate and create what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You like it's the epitome of, like, what they call that shit? It's the epitome of throwing your trash on other people's lawn. It's like that. Like, you wouldn't even feel the need to do that because you're a grown ass man or you're a grown ass woman and you got your own life. You too busy with your own life to even care about what other people's lives are doing and stuff like that, right? So unless it has something to do with like a business deal or a trading system, or, you know what I'm saying, trying to exchange knowledge or wisdom and stuff like that so y'all can cultivate into something better to make living on earth have a better existence and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, bringing God on earth or heaven on earth, however the fuck you want to call it, then it will be more authentic and genuine and stuff like that. But we can see, you know what I'm saying, throughout history, it was not that. It was not that on a percentage scale, right? Right. So based upon Martin Luther's theological beliefs, it formed the basis of Lutheranism and stuff like that. So Lutheranism is just his specific version of Protestantism, of what they was protesting against. They was protesting against Catholicism, them protesting against the practices in the government that was getting carried out in Europe and shit like that. It's just his theology, his philosophical point of view, his specific version of how he looked at the doctrines that they chose to indoctrinate people in, of who was ever running government in Europe at that time. You know what I'm saying? It was his specific doctrines, his specific branches, and theology. You know what I'm saying? So it's based upon the doctrines and the teachings of Christianity and the Abrahamic God and the monolithic God, right? So anything talking about monotheism is just monoculture. You know what I'm saying? It's something that's monolithic. Oh, you want everyone to look at things in one type of way and stuff like that. That's like the same way when everyone talking about, oh, monoculture is dying and things of that nature. That seed comes from this type of thinking. Oh, monoculture. Oh, we need things to be monopolized or monopolized into this one system, into this one program of how we like to see it, so we can get some type of monetary gain and profit out of it. You get what I'm saying? Because motherfuckers be lost into the external world in the flesh, and they ain't spiritual like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they ain't trying to create or cultivate some type of new way unless it has some type of monetary gain that leads back to them, and they faces can be on the dollar bill and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, instead of motherfuckers making their own dollar bill in their own institutions, in their own universities, and it can actually get funded, or it actually can, you know what I'm saying? Like people can actually help and support that, because that's what the people want, not what a certain group of people in a suit and tie or some type of aristocrat elite system of what they think, that specific government and stuff like that. It would just be a thing to where everyone kind of got their own government. It wouldn't be even capitalism and stuff like that. I'm not trying to say capitalism is bad, but it would be like a thing to where, oh, if you want to practice that in that specific part of the land and stuff like that, okay, cool, but don't so project what those people in that specific location like to practice. You know what I'm saying? How they like to live in that lifestyle. That's like okay, I live in Georgia and stuff like that, and they have certain laws, and we have certain culture all the way based upon Atlanta and stuff like that. We have certain laws and certain culture and certain lingo and certain ways of how we like to practice things in this specific location. Now, if I go to California and I start kicking shit from Atlanta that I learned from Atlanta, I start kicking that shit in LA and stuff like that, and California, that shit ain't gonna work because I'm in a whole different environment, in a whole different setting, in a whole different set of laws, and a whole different culture, and a whole different, yeah, like all that, in a whole different city. And if I go to New York, start kicking that shit, the people gonna be looking at me like I'm crazy as fuck, because it's not gonna be the same. Like we got other, you know what I'm saying? We all still part of America and stuff like that, but it's different geographical locations and different ways of how people like to run things. You get it? You know what I'm saying? Like, so the same way how Martin Luther is widely regarded as an influential figure when it comes to things that got westernized in Christian history and stuff like that, and going against the Roman Catholic Church and the indulgences when it comes to the Pope and their authority of how they want to run the government in Europe, right? This is the same way how they was doing this same type of practice and upholding that same type of practice of it being influential to African Americans in the civil rights movement when it comes to Martin Luther King Jr., from him representing the civil rights movement and him being an activist and stuff like that, because he was a Baptist minister. Baptism is just a denomination of the Christian theology, and it's based upon the Abrahamic theology, and is based upon the monolithic or monotheism theology and stuff like that, right? Of a singular way of how they like to look at God, because they look at God like a deity instead of an entity, right? It's a thing just out there in existence, but we make it be what it be. So it's all possibilities. It gives you all of the spirituality, the overall space, the overall room, the overall parameter, the overall creativity out of it, the overall productivity, and based upon us collectively making the objective point of view of the overall space is based upon all of our subjective point of view. So look at that, like mankind all together making the universe what it is. You know what I'm saying? On a global scale. And that's what humans are here to do, just in general, to expand out of a mind and condense into a new one. That's like a container and stuff like that. And we all have our own individuality, our own soul, right? And then your soul is just the individual space that you in, right? So based upon all of our subjective point of views, we make the objective point of view. We make the world what it is. It's not the other way around, right? If anybody who start kicking game talking about it's the other way around, and God said, oh, it gotta be like this, and God said it gotta be like that, right? Like God is some type of deity and he controlling everything. Like, and then from you even talking about it like it's a he, that's just, no, it's just someone who trying to play God and make you look at God in that shape and form and stuff like that. God don't look, you know what I'm saying? Like God is more like a reference point. You know what I'm saying? It's like a reference point of all possibilities. It's just something that it's not something that's like acting on its own. No, we make that what it is to be and stuff like that. Now, based upon different geographical locations and different spirituality and spiritual systems and stuff like that, and different philosophies, if you want to say that, so to speak, and different theologies, so to speak, right? Everyone's gonna have their own subjective point of view when it comes to culture and their ethnic background and their environment of how they was raised and stuff like that, and their own perspective of how they look at all possibilities, how they look at existence itself, how they look at God and things of that nature, right? So just the thing is, we all supposed to come together based upon our own subjective point of views, even if it opposes against each other, it makes it hard for us to be amongst one another and stuff like that. And so on, shape, or form, we're gonna create and produce a way to make that shit work, so we can do things on a less degenerate, negative scale, so we don't just get lost into the flesh instead of trying to rule over the external world in the flesh. And so on, shape, or form, so we don't make motherfuckers get lost into an exalted ego of how to run the world. And then that's how motherfuckers be thinking in the reverse concept, to where you think, oh, I got the God-given right to do this because I'm so blessed and I'm living in luxury and leisure in the flesh, right? Instead of looking at it like, oh, the space based upon the capability in the creativity and productivity, I'm not giving grace and having some type of sacredness when it comes to that first. You need to hold that sacred first. The fact you're even capable of doing that, the fact you're even able to have that talent, the fact you're even able to comprehend it, the fact you're even able to expand your awareness, so it's not in a lesser shape and form, right? Because you want to thank God all possibilities that you went through the experiences you went through to make it so you didn't come back and have the consciousness of like an alligator or like a dog or like a cat, because it's more expanded than, because us having a human mind is more expanded than theirs. And we're trying to use the atmosphere that we in right now, the atmosphere, and then the atmosphere is just the sphere at most, the world at most. We taking the atmosphere and the clouds condensing and the sun and the moon and the celestial bodies and stuff like that, and we're trying to do that on a lighter shape and form, to where we can come out the humanistic mankind mind state, so it can go into a broader mentality that's beyond the comprehension of the human mind and stuff like that. You get what I'm saying? So instead of it being in reverse, to where it's gonna be some like God created man type of concept and stuff like that. Like God made man in his image and things of that nature, right? No, it's just some man who's trying to play God to make y'all look at God like a deity, so man can create the world like the way they see it and stuff like that. And the only way you can even make that even possible is if you have to do some type of shape and form of colonization. That's the only way. That's the only way you have to do some type of extreme, so you can make some type of system or make some type of game that only you can win in. Only some flunk ass human would make up some shit like that to even make that even possible in the first place. So based upon him being a black church leader and stuff like that, right? Now, like I be saying in my other videos and stuff like that, right? When it comes to black and white, that's just based upon English terminology of what they like to self-project and call black and white people for the most part. So is y'all trying to have intellectual property over a light spectrum, a color spectrum, right? So from y'all trying to have intellectual property over a color spectrum, that's not going to work. So y'all is going to end up resulting from even trying to do things in a way based upon white supremacy, or trying to do things based upon black supremacy and stuff like that, right? Because before black, they used to call y'all colored people, and then before colored people, they used to call y'all Negroes and stuff like that. And then Negro is just Spanish terminology of the word black. And then before that, they used to call y'all niggers and niggas and stuff like that. And then before that, they used to call y'all Moors. So it's something they used to call y'all, though, all the way down to Africans and stuff like that. They started calling y'all that too. Call y'all Africans and call y'all Arab and shit like that. But y'all don't be looking at it like that, because based upon the shit they was doing in Africa, based upon the different what they call that shit, based upon like eugenics and shit like that, and them mixing y'all together based upon like raping and pillaging and stuff like that, and trying to breed y'all together and things of that nature, they end up making what we call today like an Arab and stuff like that, or all the way down to African Americans and the type of curly hair texture we have. But it's just based upon them mixing us together and putting us in certain columns and shit like that. So based upon that black and white construct and stuff like that of Martin Luther King being a black church leader, he represents the black people, the colored people, the dark people and stuff like that. Dark is just darkness, so it's representing darkness. The darkness people is something they calling us, but from y'all trying to agree to that name of black and African based upon what they calling y'all trying to take intellectual property over a color spectrum, and y'all end up acting out the same characteristics of what that color spectrum basically represents, right? Because black represents a lack of brightness. So black just represents a lack of brightness. Uh, uh, a lack of brightness, and the same way how when you be painting the canvas and stuff like that, and you get your reds and your blues and your greens, and you add too much color to it, it ends up making black, and ends up making a whole bunch of different darkness. It's an accumulation of a whole bunch of different colors. So it's you getting lost into a whole bunch of different color spectrums. You get it? You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a black and white Masonic concept and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like checkerboard system. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like them playing chess. The white people move first. The white people move first, and then the black people move after the white people and stuff like that. And they always make it like that, like a left right type thing. So just in general, right? The white represents brightness and too much brightness and without color. So it being without color is without vibrance, is without personality and stuff like that. It's without the dynamicness. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you see a person who is a real dynamic, expressive, colorful type of person and stuff like that. White will represent without the color, and then black will represents a lack of brightness or too much color, right? So you end up getting blinded and you end up getting lost in the darkness type shit from you even taking up the terminology of what they be calling white and black, and then y'all end up trying to take intellectual property of that color spectrum by even calling yourself that, instead of trying to make up some type of name that we made up based upon us coming up with some type of language or some shit like that, so we don't end up getting played into that game by even calling ourselves that, and then we end up playing out, you know what I'm saying? We end up playing out characteristics of being some type of coon energy without realizing you're acting like a coon from even agreeing to the terms and conditions of the intellectual property of what the fuck they calling y'all. But y'all really just trying to have intellectual property over a color spectrum when that's not possible. You're just going to end up playing out whoever played out that energy signature first. Is just based upon the naked eye of how we look at colors and stuff like that. And from y'all calling yourselves that, y'all just end up putting yourself in that space of whoever played at that color spectrum of what we be calling certain colors and stuff like that. So that's what black and white is. It's the same way how when people see yellow and it represents happiness, or when people see blue, it represents diplomacy or communication or connectiveness and stuff like that. Or when motherfuckers be seeing red, it represents violence or passion or motivation or movement or fiery type of energy and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Or aggression or anger and stuff like that. You get what I'm saying? It's like you trying to have intellectual property over stuff like that when that's not possible. You can't do that. And then like from you even trying to do that, you're just gonna play out the same characteristics of what that color spectrum is. That's like a motherfucker that was like a celebrity and stuff like that, right? And they got a certain swag to them, and let's say their name was Red or some shit like that. Y'all trying to aspire to be like Red, but you can't be like Red. Red already played out the characteristics of being Red. You could be like Red, but you're not gonna be Red. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like like a motherfucker already got that name. A motherfucker already took over that intellectual property. A motherfucker already got that type of personality. It's not to say you can't be inspired by the color red, but you're never gonna be red. You know what I'm saying? Like you get lost into someone else's mind state. You getting lost esoterically into someone else's nutsack of some shit they already done made. You know what I'm saying? Someone else's creativity, someone else's productivity. That's a better way of how y'all can be looking. This is a better way of how y'all can look at when y'all be looking at the terminology when it comes to when people be saying, oh, that's white people shit or that's black people shit and stuff like that. That's what they mean when they say that. That's a broader way of how to look at that shit. So when it comes to Martin Luther King and him being a black church leader, and when y'all be talking about black people, y'all just talking about African Americans, but it's still something they're calling y'all, all the way down to Negroes, all the way down to Moors, all the way down to niggers, all the way down to nigga. It's something they was calling y'all. Well, we turned nigga into a term endearment, but you get what I'm saying. It's something they was calling y'all. Y'all didn't make up your own language. Y'all didn't make up your own thing that y'all called yourselves. And then they have to agree to y'all intellectual property, what y'all call yourselves. Y'all just agree to what they're calling y'all. You get what I'm saying? And I understand why, because they put motherfuckers, they cripple motherfuckers, they cripple their culture, they cripple them in a multitude of different ways and stuff like that. So we had to depend into their system how to go about things, all the way down to, oh, we want our civil rights, we want our human rights, we want the ability to vote and stuff like that. Like, I understand it from an overall perspective. I'm just saying that's what they did to y'all to make y'all be so crippled, to where y'all could be so crippled in the mind, to where y'all don't be looking at shit like that, and y'all don't be as spiritually free, and y'all can't seem to get the shackles taken off of y'all when it comes to uplifting y'all people and stuff like that. They already have some type of mental colony, mental column, some type of thing put up in the external world so you can get lost into their version of some shit they already done did, so they can keep you in that specific program, in that specific mental cage and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just gonna make you keep on reliving that same trauma of the trauma they was doing to themselves, and then the trauma they trying to self project onto y'all and stuff like that. I'm not even trying to say in a way of like I hate white people or I hate black people or I hate any of them and stuff like that. I'm a free spirit. I'm not even doing that. I'm not even on that type of time and stuff like that. I'm just explaining the energies because I know how to read energy very well, and that's the energy. That's all the energy you put yourself in from you even agreeing to the terms and conditions of these different metaphors and allegories and these different terminologies of these different programs they be trying to put out here and stuff like that, right? So based upon what Martin Luther King did, right, and him winning a Nobel Peace Prize and stuff like that, and him trying to fight things when it comes to racial inequality and things of that nature, right? He's playing out the way they wanted him to play that thing out. That's why they have things like Martin Luther King Day, right? And you know what I'm saying? Like a certain holiday and stuff like that. If it's a holiday, it's a holy day. It's something that's sacred to them because they made a day out of it. So they have the intellectual property based upon the federal system and the government system and the Constitution and stuff like that. But the Constitution was just made off of things being westernized and things of that nature, right? And pilgrim culture and stuff like that. Like that's the only reason motherfuckers got into that position in the first place to even make that. So that's why they look at what he did as sacred. Oh, he's playing out in a certain diaphragm that they want him to play out, a certain characteristic they want him to play out. Oh, a certain type of leadership they want him to play out so they can make more psyops for y'all that they can cook up in the lab to make people get geeked up and excited and stuff like that, because he's going to represent the Martian people, the passionate people, the people who think in that specific type of way. It's just when it comes to African Americans, oh, we're going to do it for those specific groups of people who are African Americans and our little Negroes and niggers and stuff like that based upon our Jim Crow laws. So it looked like, oh, we listening to what the fuck they saying because they help us fight our wars of what we had with the Native Americans and stuff like that, so we can give them a certain settlement because we the white people in quotation and our white supremacy in quotations, because we the white checkerboard and they the black checkerboard, and the white people white pieces based upon the chess move. Oh, the white people gonna move first and then the black people gonna move after the fact and stuff like that, because they did help us and they also foreigners and stuff like that, and we both foreigners to this land, so let's be foreigners together and let's, you know what I'm saying, like we are the world, you know what I'm saying? Like, so for the most part, yeah, it's really just that, twin. Like it's really just that. Like the version of what they was doing is based upon the practices of what they was doing during the 1600 and Lutheranism and Martin Luther of what he was doing, because he was an influential figure when it comes to things that got westernized and Christian history. And then the 1900 version of what that is with Martin Luther King Jr. and the Jim Crow laws and the civil rights movement and stuff like that. When it comes to black people and African Americans, he's playing out the same exact type of characteristics of what they wanted him to do from the suit and tie concept and stuff like that. So they were just using him as a puppet, basically. Like well, really both of them. But it's like they're using him as a puppet to put out a certain leadership and put out a certain program, and they're utilizing him to put out a certain way of thinking so people can get lost into the idol worship and the iconography of what he did in a specific way, because that's the type of manuscript and the thing they were trying to push out at that time. They like, oh yeah, well, they did help us fight our wars. Oh, the Africans did help us do this. Yeah, we made them into slaves and we put them in a colony, but we're willing to listen to them now because we done chilled out with some of our practices and things of that nature, and we need to make some new type of fruit to make it so we can still play God in the flesh, because they look at God like a deity and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, okay, well, they're also foreigners and we foreigners, and we're all foreigners to this land except for Native Americans and stuff like that. So let's make it so the African can get some type of liberation, or they can get some type of reparations or some shit like that, or they can get some type of human rights and civil rights and things of that nature now, because we kind of done gentrified and did all the ethnic cleansing that we can do. You know what I'm saying? We done did it to the extreme that we can do and stuff like that, and we're trying to uphold certain practices based upon Jewish and Masonic witchcraft. And yeah, we trying to make y'all more inspired to act out in certain protesting Protestant type of ways based upon our monolith of the type of culture we're trying to create, based upon our practices that we're trying to uphold. But overall, when you learn the mystery behind the history, the mysticism behind the actual history of what they're externalizing, that's all they're upholding.